Hello, everyone, and welcome to Thursday's Facebook Live. Is it Thursday? I think that's the day today. So hello, my name's Lisa Turner from Psychacademy, and we're a spiritual and consciousness awakening organization specializing in training professional coaches and practitioners. And our signature in-house developed processes have been used to coach and work with lots of leaders. I've been working with it's really interesting because the whole theme of these Facebook Lives has been leadership, and I've coached and worked with members of parliament that are previous shadow cabinet. I've worked with industry leaders, corporate leaders, business leaders. I've worked with politicians. I've worked with leaders in management roles. I've worked with leaders, people who have been leaders in like on councils and councillors. I've worked with leaders who've been in the forces, army, and predominantly the army and Marines. But I've worked with lots and lots of leaders. And one of the things that I found, we've been talking about leaders and leadership. And one of the things that I often hear people say is those who feel that they are not in a place of power. One of the things I often hear people say is, I wish leaders were better, and I wish they weren't this, and I wish they weren't that. And you know what? I absolutely agree. And I also want to share this thought, this perspective that, it's easy when you're not in a position of leadership to criticize. And I'm not saying that this lets anyone off the hook for, like outright corruption, which we know is like we've been seeing that, right? And doesn't let anyone off the hook for behaving in really, ways that are based on greed and selfishness and self-serving ways. But I think it's time for us, for all of us to actually own that we are leaders. We're leaders, even if we don't think we are. Even if we think we're not leading, we are, because we are a social species. We are a species that we are designed to work together, to cooperate, to collaborate, to integrate. And whether you like it or not, when we get together, our breathing often synchronizes. Even our heartbeats can harmonize, and our thoughts can be activated and energizing and synchronizing with each other. So whether we like it or not, we are leading. And we're either leading consciously by saying, this is what I believe in, this is what I stand for, and I'm going to take action, and I'm going to live from this place. Or we're leading and influencing by going, and you'll see, you'll know who's around you as to which one they're choosing. And you can't necessarily control anyone else's behavior, but you can choose to go, okay, I'm not going to go down that place. I'm not going to go over there. I'm going to be here, and I'm going to stand for this, and I'm going to be like this, and I'm going to live my life like this, and I'm going to be in this kind of joy and happiness and mastery of myself. So we've been talking about how we're on this tipping point of spiritual awakening and spiritual evolution, that this spiritual tipping point is happening, and that we're being called, each of us as individuals, to step into being a more conscious leader. Now, and I do want to be clear, being a conscious leader doesn't mean being out there and, saying, follow me. Being a conscious leader, I think it means consciously choosing where you're going, rather than unconsciously, like some people unconsciously choose to be led in a particular way, or they unconsciously choose to lead others and be a particular way. So it's about consciously choosing where you're going and going there. So today I wanted to talk to you about the compassionate leader. We talked about the courageous leader yesterday, and I'm just pulling up there we go. So the compassionate leader. So the compassionate leader PowerCentre. This, and by the way, if you like what I'm saying, and if you're here, just let me know that you can see me and hear me. So post a little hi in the chat box there. Also, if you think anyone else would enjoy or benefit from these lives, from this live, just pop a little comment, tag them there in the chat box, or just send it on to them. Do a little share. If you like this, click the like button. If you love it, click the love button. Who doesn't want a bit more love? And that's what we're talking about today. Compassionate leader, which is coming from a place of love. So a compassionate leader, as the name suggests, It's all about compassion and love. And in fact, one of the things I think about compassionate leader is that in that word compassion is passion. So this isn't the superficial, fleeting, sentimental love. This is the deep, universal, unconditional love for all. And sometimes unconditional love means having good boundaries, which is why each leadership builds on the one, each power center builds on the one below. So this leader, the compassionate leader, truly understands and embodies the essence of working for the highest good of all. And I am a big bit of a Trekkie fan. I really like Star Trek. And one of the, and Dr. Spock says these two phrases. Sometimes he says, "Hey, Maria, lovely to see you." That's not what Dr. Spock says. I just saw Maria there. Dr. Spock, he would say, "Hey, Maria, lovely to see you," I'm sure. But what he also says is, sometimes the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one, which is working for the highest good of all. The other thing about highest good is this isn't about being nice. Being nice just to be placatory and not disrupting people. It's like sometimes the most compassionate thing to do is to say, if you do that, you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to hurt other people, telling it like it is. Sometimes the most compassionate thing is to say no. So just being nice and being superficial, sometimes the most compassionate thing is to say, whoa, we might want to change that dress before you go out because you looked that not your color, not your style or whatever. Like that's sometimes the most compassionate thing. So the compassionate leader does what's for the highest good of all, not about being nice. The compassionate leader, they're not only compassionate to others, they're also compassionate to themselves. And that's really important. They fully embrace the concept of a win-win. And this is where, as the name of the live suggests, this is where we talk about the karmic balance. Sometimes doing what's for the highest good of all means charging a fair rate for your services. Sometimes it means paying a fair rate for what you want, because that's how we stay in karmic balance. They never unduly sacrifice themselves for their future or their past or for others. There's no sacrifice there. There's karmic balance, win-win. Now, a compassionate leader truly inspires her tribe with a sense of connectedness, a sense of being supported, loved, and cared for unconditionally. This leader is the master of unlimited abundance, being generous, finding others and being generous to herself and to others. So people often just want to please the compassionate leader simply because they want to bask in her love. So what Sarah says, you're so right. We're leading and therefore leaders in everything we do. I aspire to be a compassionate leader as a mother and everyone I work with. Sarah, you so are that. You are so a compassionate leader. I feel that. And I'm I feel so honored that to be working with you and have you on my team, be part of the team. So let's look at the characteristics of a balanced, active, compassionate leader. So they give, but they also receive easily. They create a win-win. They're empathic without taking on others' problems. So they're totally okay about, and it's really interesting. I've just been working with my certified set practitioner training graduate. They're almost graduates. It was the last session of this round today. And we were talking about how once you've done set and trained in set, you can actually feel everything more. You're more sensitive, but you've got this inner strength. So like if somebody's in pain, you're okay just to be with them in that place of pain without knowing it's not yours to fix. You might choose, you might not. You're okay. You're comfortable about others' pain. So you're empathetic, you're really, really empathetic and empathic, but without it being others' pain being your problem. It's just an awareness. A compassionate leader is generous with their time, their money, their gifts. They have a strong sense of their own value, and they don't give to those who don't value or appreciate the gift. So they have really strong emotional boundaries. So they're very generous with themselves and with others. They'll ask for what they need as well as give it. They understand win-win and karmic balance. So staying in karmic balance is where you give and receive in a way that's in balance. They're aware of suffering, and they actually use suffering not as oh no, I've got to fix it, I've got to fix it, I've got to make everyone happy. No. They go, okay, let's change the situation. Let's not make it okay for them, heal them, serve them, whatever. It's not about that. It's actually saying, okay, this situation doesn't work, let's change it. So they're very passionate about lots of things and certain things, and they'll act on that. They'll use that to drive themselves. And so one of the things I do is in my work that I do. So I've created a process, conscious emotional transformation. It releases trauma and pain from the past, and it clears in a matter of hours what other processes and therapies take years to achieve, if ever. And like this is the work. A lot of the work I do now is focused on training other set practitioners, and I'll reject one-to-one work because I want to focus on the training, because I know that when we can all be this beautiful, open-hearted people, feeling our emotions, owning them, without emotional pain being a problem, without it being used to judge ourselves or others. It's just, oh, look, I'm grieving for the death of my mother. That would be a normal thing, and that's okay. Oh, look, I'm not okay with this situation, and I feel the pain of that, and I'm going to use that to guide me to take action to change it. So this is the compassionate leader. So the compassionate leader is very likely to say something like, I love you just because you're you. Or they're very likely to say something like, I am so happy for you. And they genuinely are. They genuinely are happy for other people. So my one of the examples I think of a great living, or a real life example of a compassionate leader is, I think Princess Diana really embodied the compassionate leader. She worked for, and she really opened people's hearts. And if you look at when our power centers were activated, I actually think she really stepped into the limelight around the time of her separation from the royal family and from her husband Charles, and when she stood in her own power as a compassionate leader. And when she died in the mid-90s, that was a heart-opening time for lots of people, because she's a real embodiment. I'm trying not to say living embodiment, but for me, she's still she was such an alive person. So so such a great example of a compassionate leader. But let's look at what an overactive compassionate leader looks like. Now, this person gives to the point of embarrassment. Others are embarrassed. They're so focused on others, they don't even notice their own needs, let alone tend to them. They feel the pain of everyone else to the extent that they become incapable of helping them, let alone leading a tribe that will create change so that help isn't needed. They'll mistakenly believe that the way to help others is to do everything for them, creating a greedy, needy, codependent, and disempowered group of people who will suck them dry. Ultimately, this leads to resentment, or they'll get sick. They eventually realize that they've given everything away, and they'll say something like, I've given everything for you, I've sacrificed everything. And often it falls on deaf ears because their gifts were never truly valued. This person, they're often sentimental, possessive, melodramatic. They give everything away. They over-empathize with the suffering of others, and they will always be trying to make others happy. And, everything is all about everyone has to be happy. And so actually it disempowers others, and it causes others to disconnect from their feelings. Because if you're around someone who's uncomfortable with your pain, then what do you do? You hide it, right? So you actually create this superficial, unreal it's this sort of toxic positivity where the only thing, like, you just have to be happy around this person. And I see a lot of spiritual groups where this is like where people get judged for being in spiritual pain, or being in emotional pain. So in those spiritual groups, it's like the leader often says, oh, you're being triggered, or you're not very emotional and mature because you've got anger issues. And it's like, actually, it's actually just rude, isn't it? If somebody's angry, they're angry. It's like, that's okay. That's what they're feeling. You don't need to fix it, and you don't need to judge it, because a compassionate leader who's balanced will judge it, but an overexpressed compassionate leader will judge others for being in pain or just want to fix it. They're often codependent, they're quite demanding, and ultimately they actually feel quite unloved or unable to love fully. This person is most likely to say something like, I have to do everything, or no, really, I'm fine, I don't need your help, or don't worry, I'll do it, I'll come in and fix it. So that's the overexpressed compassionate leader. So what does an underactive and underexpressed compassionate leader look like? Well, this is the person who is unable to feel love. Others don't feel loved around them. They don't feel loved, love or loved around them. They believe themselves to be incapable or to be unlovable, and they feel unworthy of receiving anything, including love. They're equally incapable of demonstrating love for others. This leader is often isolated, depressed, self-pitying, and they play the poor me as their main strategy for getting what they want. They're unable to see the good in others, and they're often unable to receive love or support or anything without being suspicious. Oh, what's in it for them? Oh, what's their true motive? And those is an interesting. If you're a balanced, compassionate leader and you're able to give love, you'll often find that there are people around who they're quite suspicious. They're like, well, what do you want? What do you want for it? And it's like, just doing it because I can, just doing it because I want to. So other qualities and behaviors of an underactive compassionate leader. So isolated, depressed, paranoid, indecisive, feels unlovable, believes no one loves them, tends to be very passive aggressive. They fear close relationships. They're self-pitying. They're mean. They're mean with themselves and they're mean with others. They can't ask for what they want. They can't get their needs met. They're terrified of rejection, which is why they don't ask. They need constant reassurance. And they're most likely to say, well, nobody gives me anything, or I should have had that, or oh, poor me, and nobody helps me. Nobody's helping me. So those are the qualities of an underexpressed compassionate leader. So compassionate leader, who else do you think is a compassionate leader? And how are you embodying this compassionate leader in your life? Who do you think of as a compassionate leader? So next week, we'll be looking at the truthful leader and how that power center is a little bit overactive at the moment, a little overexpressed in society. So we'll be looking at truthful leader, visionary leader, and true conscious leader, and where we're going next with that. And next Thursday, look out, and I will drop a link in our groups and on our page to join us on our masterclass next week, where you're going to learn about your leadership power center, where you're which ones are active for you, and where we can all start to activate and embody all of those leadership power centers and qualities. So till then, have a great week. See you on Monday for our Facebook Live then. Till then, huge, compassionate love for you. Be kind to yourself. I hope that you have all that you need, that you and your family are safe, that you are loved, that you are cared for, because you are cared for here in the Psychademy community. We love you. Till next time. Bye for now, my darlings.